Learning palmistry by comparison. We would be talking about the lifeline in this particular palmistry video. When we are talking about the lifeline, we should also talk about the Venus mount and the mount of Mars. These two planets are encircled by the lifeline in palmistry on your hands. Lifeline is one of the three major lines in your palm. Lifeline indicates vitality and longevity. It indicates major life events that may take place in your life, something related to the health issues, period of stress, anxiety, period of oppositions in your life. It also indicates physical strength and stamina, adaptability and resilience. Mount of Venus, which is encircled by the lifeline and it is placed on the base of the base of the thumb. It indicates sensuality and passion, creativity. It indicates relationship dynamics that are playing out in your life, independence versus dependence. How much energies that you have in your life is depicted by the mount of Venus. The mount of Mars is the planet for assertiveness and aggression, physical strength and stamina. Stamina is basically depicted by Mount of Venus, but the physical strength and the fire within you is depicted by the Mount of Mars. It could also indicate leadership qualities. Although for leadership qualities, the Jupiter mount is the most important mount, but because people who have that fire within them, they could have this leadership qualities as well. And the Jupiter mount is just above the mount of Mars negative that I would be indicating when I would be showing you the palm. Mount of Mars also depict competitive spirit, the determination within you. Now straight away let us head to the practical side of what I have just spoken. This is the lifeline, and in this particular case it is perfect. How do we know if a line is perfect or imperfect? We just need to see if the lines are simple, deep and clear. In this hand all the lines are simple, deep and clear. Even the headline is very simple. The heart line is also very simple. When we say simple, it basically means it should not have unnecessary wavy-like formation. Some people may have a wave-like formation. Some people may have branches over the lifeline moving downwards. All of those things are going to be negative. Now this is a hand of a lady. She's in US and she sings for like presidents. Her name is Mary Miliband. So for a singer, the most important planet is the mount of Venus. Notice how out here how well developed the mount of Venus is. Mount of Venus is all about beauty and grace, energy and stamina and vitality. When this mount has got least amount of lines over it, you notice very less lines. The whole palm doesn't have unnecessary lines, but even the mount of Venus does not have unnecessary lines over it. It is indicative of a person who does not waste their energies at all. See, some people have a tendency to waste their energies, like they are wasting their fuel. Now, this lady does not waste her fuel. How do we know if the person is wasting their fuel? You'd notice many crisscrossing lines over the mount of Venus. If there are many crisscrossing lines over the mount of Venus, the probability is that the person is misusing their energy and stamina, and they're putting the effort in useless efforts. So let us move to another hand image that I have so that you can compare what you have already seen. let's take this case. Now this hand, this is the lifeline that we are talking about. Let me just increase the size so that you can see it much more clearly. Just 1 minute. I'll just increase thickness of uh, the line that I'm drawing. So this is the lifeline. Now this hand is a little bit unique, and I want to show you an important aspect out here. And I'm just deviating a little bit so that I can tell you the importance of the lifeline and the other lines that are there in his hand, but mainly concentrating only on the lifeline. The lifeline is okay, but notice that there's a big island-like formation on the headline just under the area of Mount of Saturn. This is the Mount of Saturn, and just under it there's an island on the headline. Now the thing is that lifeline tells about the health of a person, but out here health of a person can also be seen on the line of head as well. So if there is an island on the headline under the Mount of Saturn, it is indicative of mental isolation, depression, depressive tendencies. And when you have depression, the likelihood is that there would be stomach related issues also that are going to be there. Saturn is a very, very slow moving planet. So if there are bad markings under the Saturn, crisscrossing lines under the Mount of Saturn, or under the Mount of Saturn on any other line as well, that means the bad effect of Saturn is there in your life. And even an island is considered to be a very, very bad sign out here. The timing when it is bad is around the age of 30 till the age of 36, 37. How do we calculate the age? The age is calculated by the line of money and the intersection of the headline. So this point is age 35. So this portion is before the age of 35 on the line of head. Now let us move back to the lifeline. The lifeline appears to be reasonably okay. So this is in the initial phase, it's not so good till the age of 22 or so, but later on it becomes reasonably okay. But apart from this particular lifeline, you would also notice that there is an inward line. There's a line inside the lifeline, and this line is known as the line of Mars negative, or we can just say this is the line of Mars. Mars in Greek mythology is a fighter. So people who have a supporting lifeline, people who have the line of Mars, or people who have the line of guardian angel line. See, in Western countries, it is known as the guardian angel line, but the meaning remains the same. Whatever name you put to this particular line, the meaning would remain the same. It is guarding you, it is protecting you, and it is also protecting you from bad health that you might face at this particular age that I have already mentioned. So a supporting lifeline would protect you from bad health. It would protect you from any disease. It would protect you from your enemies. Your enemies can be your physical enemies, or a particular disease can be your enemy. So it is protecting you fully. Not many people would have such a long line of Mars negative. So people who have a long line of Mars negative are going to be protected throughout their life, and not necessarily for 1 or 2 or 3 years. So this is a beautiful line to have. Very few people would have this kind of a line. You have to understand what is Mars. The first thing is this area is the area of Mars negative. Mars negative is just a name. Don't think that this is a negative area. Negative lines on the area of Mars negative is something like these horizontal lines touching either the headline or the money line or the lifeline, crossing over the lifeline. All of these are negative, but these get negated by having a strong line of Mars out here, the protection line. So what is Mars? Mars is a red planet. Red means anger, aggression, and fire. And the positive indications are having this particular line. That means your aggression is going to be targeted aggression. and it's going to be guided towards a particular goal. These are untargeted kind of aggression that is there. You don't, it's not too many lines out here. In some other hand, I would show you that there would be even more lines out here. And this could also be the area of stomach. The reason why we say stomach is uh, because the maximum heat that is there in your body is in your stomach. So if there are too many lines, crisscrossing lines are out here, the chances of your stomach uh, problems arising are going to be much more. So this is one way of looking at it. This is a somebody unknown person's hand. So I showed you a different option out here. Now out here we are seeing a hand of I think a singer, Danny Minogue. So this hand is also, you would notice, it's a very different kind of a hand. Many lines are very, very different. The This is the lifeline. It's not perfect. You just notice out here how the lines are compared to Miliband's hand. You notice how simple, deep and clear the line is, and now compare out here how the line out here. This is not a perfect kind of a line. When the lines are not so clear, it is indicative that the health issues could be there. Just notice these are islands, small islands that are there. There's an island out here as well. But in spite of having all these indications as well, you would notice that there is still the line of Mars negative. Now this is protecting this lady, this singer. But they are equally there. You would notice that there are many horizontal kind of lines out here, many horizontal kind of lines out here. So these lines are also the lines of oppositions, and these lines are the lines that are kind of creating problems in her life. These are the lines of oppositions or stomach related issues or many other issues that are going to come up in her life. I will like to add out here that it's a general perception that only the lifeline can talk about the health. I want to show you that even your heart line, when it is imperfect, could indicate to heart related issues, emotional issues, and stress related issues. So just notice out here how unclear the heart line is. It's islanded, broken up into pieces, branches over it. So it's a very unclear kind of a line. Compare it with Miliband's hand, how simple, deep and clear the line is. Simple lines basically indicate that the person is able to dedicate themselves to one thing and one thing only. And it doesn't mean that she would not have any stress and anxiety, but the ability to handle stress and anxiety in her case is going to be immense. However difficult the circumstances may be in her life, she would take it with a pinch of salt and move ahead in her life. But this lady, it's very difficult and she is going to go erratic. It's going to be very difficult to understand this particular person, and the person would be extremely hyper, very the heart line is also very long, so it makes her very sensitive to things, sensitive to anything, sensitive to relationships, sensitive to food, any other aspect of the life as well. So it's not only one line that can talk about the health. Each and every line in your palm can talk about the health. The area of mount of Mars is Mars negative is disturbed area. So it's a very bad area out here. But in spite of that, because there is a supporting lifeline and it is running for almost the major portion of her life. So that is the reason why we say that the protection is going to be there. The other thing that I want to wish to show out here is that when you talk about the lifeline, this is the lifeline. There's one or two branches that are leaning outward and pointing towards the area of Mount of Moon. Now, this is also considered to be a little bit negative. It basically means, and what is Moon? Moon is a changeable planet. It is changing its phases on a daily basis. So what it basically means is that that the person could develop restlessness. This is the first thing. The second thing is the person would travel a lot. Wherever they travel, still the feeling is going to be some kind of a restlessness. The person is going to be likely to be uneasy at any place they go to. And when we say that the person is going to travel, so another way of looking at this particular line is something like the perception of the life can change. This line could also mean health related issues. Health and wealth may basically move out from your life. Any line joining into the main line is good. Any line exiting from the main line, pointing downwards towards the finger, is bad. This is a basic principle that you need to understand. Any line joining into the main line is good. Any line exiting from the main line is bad. Any line moving from the fingers and joining the lifeline is good. Let's take it in a different way. Lifeline is nothing but a river. A tributary, if it joins in, specifically from Jupiter, it means honor coming into her life. She's aspiring for honor, she gets honor. Any line exiting from the main lifeline, it means exit of energies, exit of stamina, exit of health, and bad health, and even money is going to be basically wasted. And this kind of a line could, the person could have problems below the stomach, something related to the kidneys or the urinary tract or all these kind of things. Those are the things that can affect this kind of a person. So in all, there are some good aspects also, but from the singer point of view, there can be some good aspects, but not everything that is good on her hand may be good for a normal person. So this is another way of looking at it. Now let us take a look at Angela Jolie's hand. Now the image is not so clear that we have out here, but still she's a famous actress. And let us just take one thing. Now I may be going totally against the normal perception, but let me still go against that particular perception. People generally think that actresses, they have lots of grace and beauty and all these kind of things. See, much of these things are being media created, and they may actually be lacking in that particular person. So let us take this lifeline. Okay, so this hand as such, you would notice that it appears to be not such a strong kind of a hand, kind of a feeble kind of a hand. And just show you another hand. This is a hand of famous singer Elton John. Just notice how well developed this particular area is. The Mount of Venus. Mount of Venus is the area for beauty and grace. So for a singer or for an actress, they should have very good Mount of Venus. The better, the more padded the Mount of Venus, the chances are they are going to be very, very graceful. Okay, this is the most important planet for an actor or actress. But I have seen many a times very famous actresses also not having a very prominent kind of Venus. Now I'm suggesting one thing, that even if there's some planet lacking in your hand, even then it can give you a result. This is what I'm trying to indicate. And there are other examples as well of very famous actresses. This is the hand of Aishwarya Rai. Out here also the Mount of Venus is not so prominent in comparison when we are comparing with Elton John's hand. Take a look at the hand of Deepika Padukone, a famous actress. Out here also, just notice how like it's not a beautiful kind of a hand, and it's not a very well padded Mount of Venus in comparison to people who have a well developed Mount of Venus. Now Elton John doesn't have to make any effort. He is what he is. Now these actresses and all, they have to pose, they have to show something, or they have to take help from media. That's what they need to. And Mount of Venus, if it is very prominent, it means that everlasting desires, those desires are everlasting even when the person turns 60, 70, 80, even 90. The person is still going to remain young. The person would never ever get old. The youthness is going to be there in this particular person. So this is a beautiful hand. Apart from that, just notice how well padded the fingers are. The mounts are prominent, everything is prominent, so the person has lots of richness. Now richness does not only come with money. That richness can be in a poor person as well as a rich person. Now he loves to eat. He loves to eat, and I've heard that he purges also, like eating and then basically taking out that food. So excess liking for food. This area, Mount of Venus, is the area for sexuality. So, and you know something about him, that his sexuality is a little bit unique. So I won't go into that, uh, but there's extreme love and a genuine love that is going to be there within this particular person. So what is Venus? You have to understand. In geography, Venus is a dense planet and Venus is a warm planet. So dense planet means anything related to energy, the petrol, the diesel, the butter that you have in you. It basically means the energy that is there within you. So more the padding, more the energies that the person is going to have. Yes, Mount of Venus may bring about laziness. I do agree, but at the same time, the energies are the greatest in those people who have a prominent Mount of Venus. They wouldn't basically get tired. They would be always full of optimism and energy and stamina and vitality and the warmth. These people are going to be extremely warm with people. Now, he has a very like Mount of Venus when prominent, it means their taste is going to be very good. Taste can be in anything. It can be in food, it can be in clothes, or anything else as well. And there's going to be genuine beauty in them. They know what aesthetic is. In comparison, just notice out here, this is again a famous actress, Nicole Kidman. It's not a very beautiful kind of a hand. It's a very thin kind of a hand. Even thin hands do have certain qualities. I don't disagree with those things, but for an actress, they should have a good prominent Mount of Venus. Then I would rate it to be the best. Now, people who don't have a prominent Mount of Venus, when they look at these particular hands, then I would say that any person can become can make the effort to become famous in the field of acting in spite of not having that particular planet prominent in your hand, which is the most prominent planet that is required to be. Now, to be successful, you need to have burning desires. This is a hand, the lines are not too clear. This is the lifeline, I can't see it very clearly, but what we can certainly see is a prominent Mount of Venus. He's a famous billionaire and he has a prominent Mount of Venus, so his desires are very huge. And when you have a prominent Mount of Venus, there's a general tendency that they have lots of relationships and they have lots of partnerships. So the chances of remarriage increases if you have a prominent Mount of Venus. So even if one relationship fails, you would still say, though, okay, it has failed, but still I want to be in companion with somebody. These people generally wouldn't want to stay alone. So that's the main thing. Now, even Elton John's hand, he wouldn't want to stay alone at all. He would want a partner all the time in his life. And for them, partnership is most important. Relationships are most important. And they want to they want to give their warmth to other people, even unknown people or people known to them. So these people, if you are in touch with these kind of people, they would kind of inject energies within you. This is a guarantee. With people, the person can be rich, the person can be poor, it doesn't matter at all. But if you have a prominent amount of Venus, the chances are, if you come in company of such a person, the person is going to inject energy into you. Even if these people go to a sick person, a person who is sick and is in hospital, these people have that, their company itself would inject energies into you. Now this area is also the area of vices. Mount of Venus is the area for vices. Vices can be of any kind: woman, it can be wine, all these kind of things, all the vices, drugs, everything is basically included out here. So the possibility of vices coming to people who have a prominent amount of Venus is there, but there is no guarantee. It's not that every person who has a prominent amount of Venus, they would have vices, but there is a possibility. So they should keep away from all the vices if possible. And if it's in a controlled way, that's all okay. In comparison, just notice out here, the amount of Venus is not so prominent, and amount of Venus not so prominent is indicative of that lack of warmth within them. So these people have to kind of, even if there's no genuine warmth, they have to show warmth in front of the screen or when they are giving interviews. So those are the things that they have to portray. Now the good part about her hand, it's not that, don't think that I'm criticizing too much. The tapering of a thumb, this tapered, it's not a blunt thumb. So when there's tapering of the thumb, it basically means the person is a perfectionist. So these are the things that can add to a person's success. It's not that only one planet can give you success. Even one small thing in your hand can bring you success, and the company that you keep, that is the most important. If you have got good company, and even if you don't have any good indications in your hand also, still the chances of success increases. Let us take the hand of Obama, the former president, and notice one thing out here: the lifeline and the headline. I'm talking about the headline because somewhere we have to correlate this aspect as well in the hand. So when there's a big gap, there's a big, huge gap between both these, and they are not touching each other, the head and the lifeline, it means that the person is rash, the person is outgoing, the person never misses out on opportunities, and the person is would try out things. The person would first act and then basically think. This is the basic nature the person would have. I think even he has a supporting line inside the lifeline. So the line of protection is there. So this line is certainly there in his hand. The amount of Venus is reasonably well padded, which is okay. No such bad markings appear out here, so that's all okay. And let's move to another hand image that we have in front of us. Now, he's a famous cricketer, Sachin Tendulkar. It is his hand. You would notice the area, the lifeline is making a reasonably good semicircle. I would say bigger the semicircle, the better it is considered to be. Now, there's reason to it why a bigger semicircle of the lifeline is better than a smaller semicircle. The reason is that these two areas, the area of Mars and the area of Venus, these two depict how much energies that you have. This is the area for energy, Venus, and this is the area of the fire within you, the spark within you. The amount of Mars negative is the area for anger, the aggression. This is the area for the what fire is there within you. So if you have a bigger semicircle, it means more area coming under the area of Mars and more area coming under the area of Venus. So more the area, more the fire. The lesser the area, the lesser the fire, lesser the energies. So let's take, I'm just drawing another line. Let's take if the line was something like this. It would have meant less fire and less energies. So you have to take this into account while giving a reading. If they, and for success, see, we are looking at success. This is the main question people are going to be asking. Am I going to be very successful? So you just need to look at the amount of Venus. If it's prominent, well padded, the lifeline is unbroken, or even if it's broken, but it's making a bigger semicircle, it's a beautiful sign for success. Guaranteed the person is going to be successful, provided there are not too many crisscrossing lines out here. Crisscrossing lines over the amount of Venus would signify that the person is misusing their energies, and people who misuse their energies, waste their energies, they are not unable to target their energies. So how can they be successful? If this area, the area of amount of Mars negative, is highly marked, it means your health is going to suffer and you are getting angry over wrong issues. You are not managing your fire. So if you misuse your fire, how can you be successful? So we have to look at all the aspects of your palm in order to arrive at the conclusion that are you going to be successful or not. These are the questions that the person is going to be repeatedly asking you. And the best way to answer is looking at the area of Mars and the area of Venus and the lifeline. Let's move on to another hand image that we have out here. Now this is the hand of famous Bollywood actor Shah Rukh Khan. Now it's a very, very important hand. We should look at his hand. And what we find out here, what is unique about his hand is that the lifeline is broken. And I think he already is age 50. So when the time when it is broken is approximately, I would say 35 or so. I'm not very sure, approximately 35. But there is an overlapping lifeline. So overlapping lifelines are considered to be beautiful indications. Although no book basically gives this indications. The reason why I say it's a good sign is something like, let's take the first line. This is the original line. If this line continued something like this, it would form something like this. It means limited fire and limited energy. But because there is an overlap in the lifeline, it means more fire coming into this particular person and more energies. And the question arises, when would that extra fire and more energies come into that particular person? It's only going to come when the person is successful. So the overlapping line is something like you're first living at 5,000 feet, and then you suddenly start to live at 10,000 feet. So this kind of a upgradation is likely to be there in your life. Now, depending upon which area the lifeline is targeting, if the lifeline is kind of pointing towards the area of Saturn, it would bring in lots of wealth in your life. If it points more towards the Jupiter mount, it would bring in more of position, because Jupiter is the planet for position, honor, respect, and spirituality and religion. So those are the things that are going to come in your life. So depending upon which area your lifeline targets, that kind of benefits you are likely to get in your life. Take a look at the hand of Tom Cruise. This is the headline and this is the lifeline. Both are joined at the initial start just in time. There's no big gap, minor joint. So it is basically indicating that these people are just in time for everything. Reasonably okay kind of amount of Venus, not super prominent, not weak, not medium. It's above medium towards the better side, the way it should be. It basically indicates the person has that high energy and stamina within them, and this is what he tries to depict on the screen. This is the hand of famous politician in south of India, and the lifeline is perfect. The amount of Venus is very prominent, very well padded. good amount of desire, very, very high desires. So he was like kind of in corruption cases. He had some corruption cases against him, and there was a likelihood that he would get entangled. But because the hand quality is good, nothing basically touched him at all. And on top of it, there's a small line that kind of joins the line of life. So this is the line, this is the original lifeline, and there's a line from top joins the lifeline. It means if a line from if this is the lifeline and there's a line that joins from the lifeline from the area of Mount of Jupiter that joins the lifeline, it means your life is getting guided by Jupiter. Life getting guided by Jupiter means you aspire to be at a high position of honor and respect. And these people generally get position and respect in their life, and their honor remains intact. However difficult the situation that may arise in their life, if you have a solid Jupiter line, the chances are your honor is going to remain intact. The more the clear the line, the better it is considered to be. The weaker the line, the lesser the possibility of your honor remaining intact if you get entangled in some problem. So his hand is perfect, and even the biggest of problems the person can face and move ahead in their life. And having such a prominent mount of Venus would bring in lots of desires, grace and beauty, and lots of warmth within this particular person. He never loses the election. So there's some genuine warmth within him for everybody. We can't, like, because we don't know him much, so we don't know what he is like. But people who know him, his constituency who knows him, they would be highly impressed, and everybody would want to come near to such a person. These people are highly warm. These people make lots of relationships, lots of partnerships. So this is a beautiful hand of a person who can be successful. Now this is another hand that we have. It's a beautiful looking hand, clear cut hand that is there. This is the lifeline. You'll notice few lines are kind of pointing towards the mount of Saturn. So these are the lines that we are talking about, pointing towards the mount of Saturn. These are very, very good lines. These are basically luck lines. These are called luck lines. I've already explained these particular lines in one of the previous hand images. It means that this is the lifeline and money flows into your life, pointing from the area of Saturn. It need not be that you should have long lines. It need not be that a person has got a long line and straight away coming and joining into out here. Even a small line, even a minor line joining into the main lifeline would bring lots of money into your life. Now these outward lines that are there, these are very minor lines, so we can ignore them because they come at a very, very late stage in your life. These lines come before the age of 60. These lines come after the age of 65 or so. So this is what it is there. One more thing I need to add out here. Some people, there's a small indication that many people have. They have a lifeline and they have a overlapping kind of a lifeline, something like that. Even that should be considered to be good. But if the line moves outward, something like this, it would mean that such a person would go far away from their family and friends and maybe live in a foreign country if they have the money, or they would, like, even if they are staying far apart from their family, they could be staying far apart just by a few meters or so, or a few kilometers, and they would want to go near to water because the water element is the amount of moon. So this is what it basically means when a person has this kind of an indication. I saw it in a hand of one person whom I knew who had this particular indication. He went far away from, like, he was staying in the same town. He was just staying 1 kilometer apart, but he started to live far away from his family, and his the most close family is his son and his wife, and there were some issues that were there, and So this could be seen as a problem line, but this is just one of the indications. And this line could also indicate, I've already explained prostate related problems or kidney related problems that could affect such a person. Now just notice this particular line that I was referring to, two lines joining into the main line and one line exiting, something like this. So this is a rare occurrence. Not many people would have it. Some people, they have a triangle-like formation on the lifeline. This is the lifeline and there's a triangle-like formation sometimes. So this triangle-like formation sometimes is indicative of property. But normally for property, we just say a small triangle is good. And if there are too many crisscrossing lines over the area of Mars negative, then property may not be a fruitful investment for you. A person may own multiple properties in spite of having a bad amount of Mars. It would basically mean that the person would not be able to enjoy the benefits of property in his life. The person may have many properties, but yet it would not be fruitful for such a person to own properties as an investment. Just notice on this particular hand, a person known to me, this is the lifeline, a lady, and she has got super excellent Jupiter lines joining into the main lifeline. So her father was a judge and she got married into a respectable family, very respectable family, and generally that respect has remained in her life. She has been a housewife. Normally, if a person comes up to me and shows his palm and I find these particular lines, I would either say a very, very spiritual person, or I would say a person who would be high in administrative field or a political field. So if these people had made the effort, certainly they would have reached the top, guaranteed 100%. With such a line, you just can't be a mediocre kind of a person. 100% guaranteed success is there. Not many people would have such a line joining into the main lifeline. So this is what I wish to convey out here. People who have this kind of an indication should certainly go into public service, should certainly go into, if they want to be a judge or they want to be at a high position of honor. So they were in religion or any other aspect, they should make the effort, guaranteed they would be successful. Before I end the video, I need to show one more hand, and this is the hand of famous politician Sonia Gandhi. It is her hand. So this is the lifeline. She has got a beautiful Mars line inside. So Mars line gives her the fire and that fighting spirit, and it is not easy to defeat her. So this is one aspect, and that fire, this protection is all around her. She would be able to protect her children. Now, as far as her husband goes, he died in a terrorist attack. So we can't say that they're able to protect everybody, but some people the person is able to protect, specifically their children mostly. And but notice towards the end, this is the end of, this is the later portion of the lifeline, there's an island like formation. Now island like formation, some people say that this is a fish. Now fish and other things I don't speak about. People think that they have a fish like thing, it would be a good sign to have. I would say no, this is not a good sign to have. Island on the lifeline towards the end certainly means health related issues. Now there's this is certainly a bad indication, but because there's a protection line, so there would be protection for a long time to come. So this is one aspect of looking at it. The other aspect of looking at it is, I'm just giving you another view out here. This is the lifeline, and if there's an island like formation, I'm just showing you the island. I'm just drawing one island out here instead of two. So when our island, this is the point when the island starts. So when the island starts, it basically means that a problem has started in your life. It could be health related issues because this is the lifeline. So this point, the problem is very small. when the line is starting. It is something like the line has started and the line is splitting into two, going in two different directions. So this is the origination of the problem. When the lines are far apart out here, the maximum far apart out here, it means that the problem is going to be maximum out here. And when the line is tapering, it means your problems are kind of ending. Okay, at this point, the problem is ending. Now think it from a different perspective. What I'm trying to show you is what I'm telling you right now. All of these things are coming at the later stage of her life. The first thing is after the age of 75 or so. So the question arises, can any problem go away from your life when you are old? Mostly everybody is going to answer that the chances are, as you grow older, the problem remains with you. The problem never goes away. So the problem started, there was a big problem in the middle, and when it tapered, it basically ended. So ending of the problem is good. So some people may say, oh, this is a good sign, but still I would say, no, this is not a good sign to have. A line should be very simple. The more the simple, the better it is considered to be. It should end just normally, without even a bump, something like this. There should be no overlapping also. Overlapping is considered to be good, but still I would say, even if you don't have it, even then I would say it to be a good sign. And normally wavy line, I'm just showing you, displaying you something. If a person has got many crisscrossing lines out here, like lots of intermingled kind of lines, the head and the lifeline are intermingled, and then basically it starts. It basically means in the earlier portion of your life, either your mind is highly disturbed or your life is highly disturbed, your physical health is extremely disturbed. If the lines are very, very simple, deep and clear in the earlier portion of your life, it is considered to be good for throughout your life. Now the reason basically is, this is the portion of life when you're building your life. This is the earlier portion. This is the foundation period. So if your foundation period line is not so good, it means that your health is not going to be good. If it's not good in the earlier portion, how can it be good in the later stage? There are exceptions, I do agree, but at the same time you have to agree that in most people's cases, if you have a good lifeline in the earlier portion, the likelihood is that because you're standing on good foundation, you're likely to have good health even in the later portion. But if your earlier portion line is bad, the chances of bad health are going to be there even in the later portion of your life. So this is an important aspect everybody should remember. Let me draw one more line out here. I'm just giving a sample view. If a person has got a lifeline something like this, and there's no line beyond out here, no lifeline beyond, and there's a line which is emerging from inside, it means the new line is underlapped by the original line. This is the original line and the new line is underlapped. So underlapped lines are considered to be negative because less area is coming under the mount of Venus. So that means less energies are there within that particular person. So as the person is growing older, somewhere out here itself around the age of 30, 35, the person would lose that desires, lose that energy within them, and they are going to dip really deep down. So they would be lacking in desire. So how can they be successful? The aging process is much more greater when the mount of Venus is not so prominent. Now she did complain of depression. Now depression is seen under the finger of Saturn. She is Deepika Padukone, famous actress. So if the mount of Venus was more prominent, it would mean high desires and high energies and always upbeat, always having that upbeat nature. So this might be the reason where the problem might be. Notice how prominent the amount of Venus out here is. Yes, there are few negative lines that are there, those horizontal lines, but we are going to ignore these horizontal lines. They do destroy the energies into wasteful expenditure, but because these lines are not touching the lifeline, so that's all okay. It doesn't affect this particular person very much. He does have a reasonably okay kind of a Mars line, not a very solid kind of a lifeline, uh, not a very solid kind of a Mars line, but yet because it's there, so it is protecting this particular person. And big semicircle, so a person has got super heavy amount of desires, and the person would never ever get tired. The person would be constantly on the move, and you can make this person work for, let's say, days together without this person getting tired. So the probability of success with such a hand increases just by looking at the lifeline. We are not looking at any other thing. We are just looking at the lifeline and coming to the conclusion. Take a look out here. It's not only the lifeline that matters for your health. This is the lifeline, so lifeline is reasonably okay, but the mind line is disturbed. It's not a simple kind of a line. The simple line should be something like this. So, and specifically it's disturbed under the amount of Saturn. So the problems are going to be there, constant problems, mental problems in the main portion of your life. So if their main problems are there in the main portion, how can you be successful? The heart line has got lots of islands, small islands, so emotional issues are going to be there. So relationship issues, those are going to affect such a person. So these are the negatives that we see in this particular hand. And now this person does have a reasonably good lifeline and a very good Mars line, so protection line is there. Yes, one or two solid lines do try to affect the life, but still the person is going to get protection because of a solid Mars line. So protection line good, everything good. Now this is a little bit rare kind of a hand where you would find that the head and the lifeline are joined at the initial start for a very long duration of time. It basically indicates that the person is very cautious, shy, hardworking, and contemplating. Now, the hand is a little bit different because we can't say with certainty, should we call this to be the lifeline, or should we say that this is the line of money? Because normally money line appears to be something like this. So in some hands, there is a confusion. So where there is a confusion, we normally ask people, and then we basically come to a conclusion. The lifeline is not long, so, and it's a very delicate kind of a lifeline towards the end. So the health needs much more care. The health issues are going to are likely to affect such a person where the lines are not so clear. The person may live longer, but it doesn't mean that it is not a guarantee that the person would have a good health, because you need to have proper lines. Only then things can become good. Some outward looking lines, yes, health issues, maybe a little bit, not too much, towards the later portion of the life, after the age of 65 or so. This hand, you would notice that normally when we see, just notice the earlier portion. This is a very troubled portion of the head and the lifeline. So when there are troubles on the head and the lifeline, then there would have been lots of problems. But there's a beautiful Jupiter line that joins into the main headline or the lifeline. It means upliftment must have been there. Some good things must have happened. The person would have been at a very high position. So those are the good aspects, but health would have been really bad, extremely bad in the earlier portion when the lines are unclear. The line should be simple, very simple kind. If it's very simple, then it's better. If it's complicated, like island, it's a very unclear. You can't basically see what kind of a line it is. Just I'm zooming over so that you can see it much more clearly. How terrible looking the line is. And even as it moves forward, there are island-like formations. So these are the negatives. So for such a person, you need to suggest, everybody wants a very good career. So you need to suggest, try to give more effort to your energy, to your health. It is a saying, health is wealth. So if there's health, you can accumulate wealth. But if you don't have good health, you won't be enjoy your health. You won't be enjoy, you would not be able to enjoy your wealth as well. And these outward looking lines, so these are the all the negatives that are there in his hand. Not a perfect lifeline. It's a very terrible looking lifeline, and such a person needs to give more efforts to their health. I've seen many a times that people don't have very good lifeline, and yet some of them are in sports. See, normally, and physical sports. Some of them are yoga instructors, some of them basketball players. So I have found that even perfect lines do not mean that you get everything, and even imperfect line doesn't mean that you can't live a perfect life. So we have to be very cautious while giving our analysis. We should try to mold our words in a beautiful way, so that it should not affect that particular person, because whatever you say is likely to affect the other person. So you should try to mold your words in a good way. Normally people want to know about their age. Age can be measured. We can try to measure the age on the lifeline. Yeah, there's a way we say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. This is how we say. But we should also look at the length of the mercury finger. If it's still this particular point, we say normal age. If it is shorter, we say the age could be short. If it is even shorter, probably the age is even less. So the length of the mercury finger could also determine how long we live. If it's very short, then we should not say a short life, but we can just caution there's a problem. There are other meanings also attached to a short mercury finger. It means that a person would be unable to communicate with their near and dear ones in a good way. So those are the small issues that can crop up when you have a short mercury finger. But out here we are trying to tell about the age. So let's move on out here, and another hand image. Mostly I've covered, but still many of those things would have been there. And I'm just telling you one thing: if there's an island out here, clear-cut island, then the person has a health issue for guaranteed. So they need to give more care to the health. Sometimes what happens is you have a long lifeline, but if there's a very solid looking line that touches the lifeline, then you can have a major issue at that particular given moment of time. If it touches the earlier portion, you have it in the earlier portion. If it's in the mid portion, so midlife, and this is the later portion of the life, and this is the last portion of your life. So minor, small lines, the smaller lines that you see out here, these are all okay. These are okay. There are problems, but the person can face and move ahead. But the stronger lines that affect, those are the lines that the person needs to be very cautious about. It can be accident, it can be disease, or any other problem that the person can face in their life. I would now end my video out here, and hopefully you liked it. Thank you for watching this video, and you can tell me what and how. Like, I can make another video as well. You have to guide me. Okay, those are the things I have missed in the lifeline. You can ask me questions. I would certainly answer you all the questions, and that's how we go about. And if you have any suggestions related to make a video on the lifeline, this particular aspect, I would make a video on that particular aspect as well. Thank you for watching. Bye and take care. And please ask me questions. Those questions, if you ask me, it would help you to understand palmistry in a much better way. If you don't ask questions, then probably I won't be able to answer any particular of those questions. And what happens is that you have to continue to see different palms. You have to see different palms and make a comparison. Like in this case also, what I've missed out here is that we didn't talk about the feel of the hand. Now, she is a very, very hardworking person, but her amount of Venus is not very prominent. Now, Venus, when it is not prominent, it indicates that lack of grace and beauty and that warmth. So she is not so good with words, and she can be harsh with words, but she can do tough work. She can do very, very tough work, very tough manual work also she can do. But at the end, she would get tired. But people who have a prominent amount of Venus, they would not get tired. Her hand are not soft hands. People who have got very soft hands, they can do only delicate work. They can't do any physical work. Like if you have got very soft hands, you can be very good at giving your opinion related to something related to music or art, or related to if some food has been made, you can bring out the finer things in that particular food. You can say, okay, if it was made in certain way, then it would have been much, much better. The taste buds are the if the hand is very soft, the taste buds are very active. Your smelling is very, very active. Your senses are very active. When the hand is harsh kind, then your senses are not very active. You may not be sensitive and your senses are not very active. So you have to take into account many aspects before you arrive at the conclusion. I would end my video out here. Thanks for watching. Bye and take care.